People always complain. They just don't get satisfied. They don't even realize that there are other creatures who are screaming out of pain and sufferings. Huh? What happened? Error. The system has been damaged by a bug. And that bug is you.
Carbon cycle is a biogeochemical cycle in which carbon travels from the atmosphere into organisms and geosphere and then back to the atmosphere. The cycle goes like this. The plant take carbon dioxide from the air and use it to create food, and this is known as the process of photosynthesis. Then, animals will feed on plants, and carbon will either be stored or released back to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide through respiration. However, with the addition of humans and their excessive carbon dioxide production, the cycle is being damaged and animals are being endangered.
Right now, I'm going to talk about how carbon cycle is related to the other atmospheric or biogeochemical cycles. Although they are not exactly or directly interconnected to each other, they are surely related, and you can find how the carbon cycle is related to the other cycles. The first example is the oxygen cycle. In the oxygen cycle, respiration or the process of breathing in and breathing out is involved, wherein plants and animals, they take in oxygen, and in return they breathe out carbon dioxide, and then this carbon dioxide becomes a part of the carbon cycle, and that is how they are related. The next relation is in the phosphorus cycle, wherein mining is involved. The heavy machineries and the vehicles rely on fuel or oil or anything that releases carbon dioxide when burned for energy, and therefore this also becomes a part of the carbon cycle.
What is fauna? Fauna is a term which describes as all animal life within a specified time or region. The term can also be divided into special groups that share some commonalities with each other. To distinguish a large animals that exist in a particular place and time is called megafauna. On the other hand, the term infauna was defined as the animals which lives at the bottom of the body of water and sometimes bury themselves in the oceanic sediments. And the styrofauna refers to as the animals which exist within the icy regions or habitats like Arctic tundra. As an example of a fauna is a Seychelles black parrot only found in the island of Praslin, and Scoop's owl and blue pigeon which is native to Seychelles, and a series of islands in northern east of Madagascar.
Carbon dioxide is pulled from the air via photosynthesis process to create food made from carbon for the growth of plants. From plants to animals, carbon shifts. That is in the plants shift across food chains to the animals that consumes them. Carbon from their diet is often taken from animals that consumes other animals. By eating plants, animals get their carbon and then they release carbon in respiration. When dead plants and animals decompose, microorganisms return carbon to the atmosphere.
So now let's talk about the impact of invasive species to fauna. So invasive species can cause our native plants and animals into extinction. Why? Because generally, invasive species can degrade, change or displace natural habitats and even compete with our native wildlife for food, water, shelter, and even some space. The impact of invasive species into carbon cycle. So animals tend to reduce the total storage of carbon, while the invasive plant tend to increase the total storage of carbon. So invasive plants releases more carbon than the local plants because invasive plants interacts differently with local insects and microbes in the soil.
Human activities have a tremendous impact in the carbon cycle. Burning fossil fuels, changing land use, and using limestone to make concrete all transfer significant quantities of carbon into the atmosphere. As a result, the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is rapidly rising. It is already considerably greater than at any time in the last 800,000 years. The ocean absorbs much of the carbon dioxide that is released from burning fossil fuels. Aside from the burning of fossil fuels, the carbon sequestration, deforestation, and geologic sequestration is already anthropogenic effects to carbon cycle. Moreover, people affect animals through four broad types of activity. First, people keep companion, farm, laboratory, and captive wild animals, often while using them for some purpose. Second, people cause deliberate harm to animals through activities such as slaughter, pest control, hunting, toxicology testing. Third, people cause direct but unintended harm to animals through the crop production, transportation, nighttime lighting, and many other human activities. And lastly, people harm animals indirectly by disturbing ecological systems and the process of nature, for example, by destroying habitat, introducing foreign species, and causing pollution and climate change.
Epigenetics is a study of how your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. Unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change your DNA sequence, but they can change how your body reads a DNA sequence. How can your epigenetic change? Your epigenetics changes as you age, both as part of normal development and aging, and in response to your behaviors and environment. Linking it to carbon cycle, there are studies that proves that increasing carbon emission because of the anthropogenic effects changes our epigenetics, and these changes have similar outcome in the animals as well. These changes influence inflammation, disease development such as cancer, behavioral changes, and effect on the nutrition and development during pregnancy periods. However, the pandemic happens, and it serves a good thing in the environment, rather the world. The emission rate of the carbon drops, the quality of air improves, the wildlife has filled the open spaces again, and the carbon cycle is getting better. Take note that this is all just temporary, and once the pandemic is gone, the world might go back to the way it was before. We must remember that what we are doing are just going back to us, so we should be responsible for our action, not only for ourselves, but also for others, all the living things in the world, and for the future generation.